Hello and welcome to the Commander's Quarters. I'm your host Mitch, glad to have you here. Here at the Commander's Quarters, we're all about Commander on a budget. Today's episode is going to be a $50 deck tech. When I say $50, I mean that is an overall deck cost. Both shipping and commanders that are $10 or less are going to be included in that cost, but basic lands will not be. Decks on this channel are built to be fun, inexpensive, and focused. If you want to learn more about what a focused commander deck is, check out this video here. On this deck tech, I'm going to take you through its strategy, the tactics, and how this deck wins. This show and episodes like this one are possible because of viewers like you. So if you're looking for some easy ways to help support the show, make sure you like this episode and share it with friends. And make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. Thank you to everyone who's already purchased our merchandise, it really does help support the channel. Another easy way to support this channel is by using our TCGplayer affiliate links. So make sure that you're looking for those links in the description whenever you're buying a deck or just individual cards. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support. Today's episode comes to you courtesy of Jesus. Jesus has been supporting this channel for over a year now as a general tier patron. I really couldn't do this without the support of amazing patrons like Jesus. For Jesus' personalized deck tech, he chose Zurgo Helmsmasher. For the theme of the deck, he chose an equipment Voltron deck. Zurgo Helmsmasher is a 7/2 orc warrior with haste that costs 2 red, white, black. He attacks each combat of Fable and has indestructible as long as it's your turn. And whenever a creature dealt damage by Zurgo Helmsmasher this turn dies, put a +1/+1 counter on Zurgo Helmsmasher. So this is an aggressive commander that can be hard to deal with, and it can also grow whenever it kills creatures. An equipment Voltron deck is a fantastic direction to take this commander. So what's our strategy with this deck? We're going to suit Zurgo up to pump, protect, and get him through. The more we can suit him up, the more dangerous he becomes, and the easier we can kill our opponents. And then how we win with this deck is pretty simple. We're going to kill each of our opponents with commander damage. Zurgo starts off at 7 power, so that's a 3-hit kill, but we've got ways to speed up that clock. Eventually we can make him into a 2 or even 1-hit kill. As with all Commander's Quarters decks, I'm going to take you through 10 different tactics that show you how the deck works and how we're going to win with it. So now let's move on to tactic number 1, prepare to smash. First up, there's Wayfarer's Bauble, which we can pay 2 to tap and sacrifice to get a basic land into play tapped. Up next is Marble Diamond, which enters the battlefield tapped and taps for a white. And then we've got Prismatic Lens, which can tap for a color, so we can pay 1 into it to help fix our mana. And Star Compass comes into play tapped and can tap for any of our colors depending on our land situation. Next up, we're running all 3 of our signets with Boros, Orzhov, and Rakdos. With each of these, we can pay 1 into and tap them for their guild's colors. And then we're running 2 of our Talismans with Talisman of Conviction and Talisman of Hierarchy. Both these can tap for a color, so they can tap for one of our 2 colors, but they deal 1 damage to us. And finally, we're running Danitha Capuchin Paragon. She has First Strike, Vigilance, and Lifelink, and Aura and equipment spells we cast cost 1 less to cast. So she can save us a ton of mana throughout the game by reducing the cost of our equipment. But what are some of those equipment that we're going to be casting though? Let's go through some of them now in tactic number 2, buff up. First up, there's Barb Battle Gear, which gives equipped creature +4/-1. And then Slayer's Plate gives equipped creature +4/+2. Haunted Plate Mail gives +4/+4, and we can actually turn into a creature if we don't have any other creatures. Now, the one thing that each of these equipment have in common is that they give 4 power. Our commander starts off at 7 power, which, as I mentioned, as long as you can get him through, is a 3-turn clock. Each of these equipment will get him up to 11, which turns him into a 2-turn clock. Some other ways to get him to 11 or even higher are Hedron Matrix, Cranial Plating, and Blackblade Reforged. Hedron Matrix is going to give him +5/+5. Cranial Plating is going to give him +1/+0 for each artifact we control. And Blackblade Reforged gives him +1/+1 for each land that we control. Now, Cranial Plating and Blackblade Reforged probably won't get him to 21 on their own, but they're definitely going to get him to 11. But an equipment that's got a chance of getting him to 21 is Bone Horde. It says equipped creature gets +X/+X, where X is the number of creature cards in all graveyards. We'll go through this later, but we're actually running a decent amount of Wraths in this deck. So the more creatures that die, the more powerful this becomes. If there are 14 creature cards in all graveyards, our commander's going to be a 1-hit kill. But we've got other ways to make it even easier for us to get to 21 power. So now let's move on to tactic number 3, double it up. First up, there's Inquisitor's Flail, which says if equipped creature would deal combat damage, it deals double that damage instead. But it also has if another creature would deal combat damage to equipped creature, it deals double that damage to equipped creature instead. So essentially doubles up the amount of damage that Zurgo puts out and takes. But since Zurgo's going to be indestructible, that second part really doesn't affect us. So with Justice equipped to our commander, it's going to make him swing for 14. And this pairs really well with our next 2 cards, which are Fire Shrieker and Grappling Hook. Both of these give Zurgo double strike. And on top of that, Grappling Hook says whenever equipped creature attacks, you may have target creature block it this turn if able. So if we really want to remove a certain creature, we can use Grappling Hook to do so. But again, with either one of these and Inquisitor's Flail attached to our commander, he's going to be swinging for 28 damage. And all those other cards that got his power to 11 are going to be lethal with these too. Finally, we've got one non-equipment that gives double strike with True Conviction. It says creatures you control have double strike and lifelink. So not only does this make Zurgo even deadlier, but it also gains us back a ton of life. But in order for us to make the most out of Zurgo's power, we've got to make sure that he can actually hit our opponents. So let's go through some ways to help him out in tactic number 4, coming through. First up, we've got some equipment that can give him trample with Haunted Cloak, Loxodon Warhammer, and Sword of Vengeance. Haunted Cloak also gives him vigilance, so we can actually use him to block if we need to. Loxodon Warhammer also gives him +3/+0 and lifelink, so we can pad our life total. And Sword of Vengeance gives him +2/+0, first strike, and vigilance too. So we can both be an effective attacker and a blocker too. Next up, we've got some ways to give him flying with Neuroc Hoversail, Cobbled Wings, and Fleet Feather Sandals. Now, flying isn't a guarantee to get him through, but it helps out on most opponents. Some cards that are even more likely to get him through though are Prowler's Helm, Trailblazer's Boots, and Hot Soup. Prowler's Helm says, equipped creature can't be blocked except by walls. Trailblazer's Boots is going to give him non-basic land walk. And Hot Soup says, equipped creature can't be blocked, but when equipped creature is dealt damage, destroy it. Again, on our turn, we're not going to worry about that since Zurgo is indestructible. One final way to get him through is with Key to the City. We can tap in and discard a card to make him unblockable until end of turn. And then when Key to the City becomes untapped, we can pay 2, and if we do, we draw a card. So essentially this can make Zurgo unblockable on top of helping us loot too. Now, indestructibility is great, but again, that's only on our turn. So let's discuss some other ways to protect Zurgo in tactic number 5. Stick around. First up, there's Mask of Avacyn, which is going to give him +1/+2 and hexproof. This is a great way to help deal with any targeted removal. So a similar piece of equipment for this deck is Swiftfoot Boots. Our commander already has haste, but that hexproof is going to be well worth it with this card. And finally, we've got Ring of Zathrid, which has pay 2, regenerate equipped creature. And on top of that, at the beginning of our upkeep, we put a +1/+1 counter on Zurgo. So we can use this to protect him on our opponent's turns on top of growing him too. But outside of equipment, we've got other ways to protect our commander too. So it's time to tackle those ways in tactic number 6. Think fast. First up, there's Sheltering Light, which says target creature gains indestructible until end of turn, scry 1. So again, while this essentially does nothing on our turn, it comes in really handy on our opponent's turns when they try to take him out. Next up, there's Face Shield, which is going to give target permanent we control protection from the color of our choice until end of turn. This can protect any of our permanents, including Zurgo. We can also use this on offense too by giving Zurgo protection from a certain color to help him get through. So similarly, we're also running God's Willing and Emerge Unscathed. God's Willing gives target creature we control protection from the color of our choice until end of turn, and we scry 1. And Emerge Unscathed gives target creature we control protection from the color of our choice until end of turn, and it has Rebound. These cards are really flexible and can help us out in a variety of situations. But what are some other ways that we can throw a wrench into our opponent's plans? Let's go through them now in tactic number 7, target acquired. First up, there's Crush Contraband, which says choose one or both. Exile target artifact or exile target enchantment. So most of the time this is a fantastic tier for one that can deal with a lot of things. We're also going to be running Generous Gift and Oblation. Generous Gift says destroy target permanent, its controller gets a 3/3 elephant. And Oblation says the owner of target non-land permanent shuffles it into their library, then draws 2 cards. So both of these do have a trade-off, but that trade-off is very minimal compared to what they can do. Next up, we've got D-Spark, which says exile target permanent with converted mana cost of 4 or greater. And finally, there's Utter End, which has no such restriction. It says exile target non-land permanent. Now these are all great pieces of target removal, but we've got even bigger ways to deal with our opponent's things. So it's time for us to move on to tactic number 8, Blown Away. First up, there's Arc Bomb, which says choose target creature. Whenever that creature is dealt damage this turn, it deals that much damage to each other creature and each player. And then Chain Reaction deals X damage to each creature, where X is the number of creatures on the battlefield. Both of these can be very efficient damage-based board wipes. Most of the time, we're going to be casting our board wipes on our turn because our commander is indestructible then. So we can pretty much use these to set our opponents back and allow us to swing through with our commander. Next up, there's Planar Collapse, which says at the beginning of your upkeep, if there are 4 more creatures on the battlefield, sacrifice Planar Collapse and destroy all creatures that can't be regenerated. So not only can this be a fantastic board wipe, but it can also be a great deterrent from our opponents actually playing creatures. With this on the board, we put them in a very tough situation. Choose not to play creatures and get hit with our commander, or choose to play creatures and know that they're going to be destroyed. And then we're running a very straightforward board wipe with Sublime Exhalation. It has Undaunted, so most of the time it's just going to cost us 4 mana and says destroy all creatures. Next up, we've got some 5 mana board wipes with Rout, Planar Outburst, and Fumigate. You can cast Rout at instant speed for just 2 more mana, but most of the time we're not going to be doing that. And then Planar Outburst is going to destroy all non-land creatures. Fumigate is probably the most useful out of these because it destroys all creatures and we gain 1 life for each creature destroyed this way. And finally, we've got 1 Wrath at 6 mana with Phyrexian Rebirth. It says destroy all creatures, then create an XX colorless horror artifact creature token where X is the number of creatures destroyed this way. So on top of wiping out everyone's creatures, it can give us a fantastic blocker. But how exactly are we going to get to all these great cards? Let's go through some ways to do that in tactic number 10, gotta have more. First up, there's Sign in Blood, which is going to make target player draw 2 cards and lose 2 life. And then Read the Bones lets us scry 2, draw 2 cards, then lose 2 life. Next up, there's Painful Truce, which can draw us 3 cards for 3 mana and 3 life if we use all of our colors to cast it. And then Ancient Craving and Ambition's Cost do that same thing, but for 4 mana. Next up, there's Siphon Mine, which won't lose us any life. It makes each other player discard a card, and we draw a card for each card discarded this way. And then Moonlight Bargain says, look at the top 5 cards of your library. For each card, put that card into your graveyard unless you pay 2 life, then put the rest into your hand. So this card can help us dig deeper and give us the exact cards that we need for some life. Next up, we've got some equipment that can help us draw cards with Infiltration Lens and Mask of Memory. Infiltration Lens says, whenever equipped creature becomes blocked by a creature, you may draw 2 cards. And then Mask of Memory says, whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, you may draw 2 cards. If you do, discard a card. Finally, we've got 2 ways to draw cards thanks to all the artifacts that we're playing. Quicksmith Genius says, whenever an artifact enters the battlefield under your control, you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. So while Rummaging isn't card advantage, it does help us with card selection. But then SRAM says, whenever you cast an aura, equipment, or vehicle spell, draw a card. The amount of card advantage that this can provide us if it stays in play for a while pile is absurd. Now we've gone through a ton of cards already, including some amazing equipment, but they're not quite as good as the one that I'm going to take you through in our final tactic. So it's time for us to move on to tactic number 10, the end of the world. So first up, we've got Open the Armory, which is a fantastic tutor for an equipment card. And the best piece of equipment that we can search for is going to be the Golden Pig of our deck. The Golden Pig is the #1 card out of our 99. And the Golden Pig for this deck is World Slayer. It's an equipment that costs 5 and it costs 5 to equip. It says whenever a equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, destroy all permanents other than World Slayer. So this is going to blow up everything on the board, including lands. The only things that are going to survive this are itself and our commander. All we have to do is connect once with this and it's game over. Because if our opponents try to put anything back into play, we're going to be able to get our commander through again and destroy everything they just put down. There is absolutely no recovering from this, and it's pretty much a one-shot kill against all of our opponents at once. And that's what makes it the Golden Pig. Zurgo is a ton of fun to build around, and you can do a lot of powerful things. Again, a big thanks to Jesus for supporting this channel for over a year now as a general tier patron. If you also want to support this channel or want your own personalized deck tech dedicated to you, consider becoming a patron. But now that we've gone through the spells in this deck, let's go on to the mana base. First up, there's Exotic Orchard, which can tap to add 1 mana of any color that a land an opponent controls could produce. Next up, there's Rogue's Passage, which taps for a color so we can pay 4 to tap in and target creature can't be blocked this turn. And then we've got Evolving Wilds and Terramorphic Expanse, both of which we can tap to sacrifice and search our library for basic land and put into play tapped. Next up, we've got 3 lands which each enter the battlefield tapped and tap for either a red or white mana. And then we've got 4 lands that enter the battlefield tapped and tap for either a black or red mana. Next up, we've got 3 lands that enter the battlefield tapped and tap for either a white or black mana. And then there's Tainted Field, which taps for colors or taps for white or black mana if we control a swamp. Next up is Nomad Outpost, which enters the battlefield tapped and taps for any of our colors. And then we're going to be running our 3 Vivid lands with Vivid Meadow, Vivid Crag, and Vivid Marsh. Finally, we've got 16 basic lands, 10 of those are going to be plains, 4 will be a mountain, and 2 will be swamps. And now that we've gone through every single card in this deck, let's do a quick price check. A quick reminder that our deck costs are calculated using TCGplayer optimization, optimizing with even heavily played and damaged cards because those cards need a home too. The average Zurgo Helmsmasher EDH rec deck will set you back $308.06. Our deck is going to be much more affordable, coming in at $49.59. Again, the price of this deck is the price that I got for it on the day that I'm recording. If you want to see a breakdown of this deck's cost, check out the link in the description. Keep in mind that prices can and will fluctuate and change over time. But with these deck costs, I want to be as transparent as I possibly can. Again, Commander's Quarters decks are about to be tuned and focused within their budget, but there are always ways that we can improve on them. So let's go through some reasonable upgrades now to see what some of those ways just might be. First up, we're going to add in Sigarda's Aid and take out Haunted Cloak. Next up, we're going to be upgrading this deck with Boros Charm by taking out Emerge Unscathed. And then we're going to add in Lightning Greaves and take out God's Willing. Next up, let's add in Darksteel Plate and take out Sheltering Light. And then we're going to put in Conqueror's Flail and take out Fleet Feather Sandals. Finally, let's add in Sunforger by taking out Crush Contraband. And with that, this show is coming to a close, so it's my turn to hear from you. So in the comments below, let me know what your thoughts on this deck tech are. And make sure that you're following us on social media for more updates and sneak peeks on future episodes. Links to our social media accounts can be found in the description. Also in the description below is a link to the Commander's Quarters Patreon page, and I just want to say a quick thank you to the patrons who have subscribed so far. There are many benefits to being a patron for the Commander's Quarters, including being able to vote on future commanders for deck techs. There's even a general level tier where you get your own personalized deck tech dedicated to you. I truly couldn't do this without all of your support, so from the bottom of my heart, thank you. If you haven't already, make sure that you like and subscribe to the channel. Here at the Commander's Quarters, we're all about budget commander. So while you're at it, go ahead and check out some of our other types of episodes. And with that, I'm out of here. Thanks again and have a good one.